Alright, so before we get to the actual meat and potatoes of this discussion, I just want to make sure that you do understand that regardless of what we say during this conversation, regardless of what valid points we are gonna make about why the new Ghostbusters reboot, remake, reimagining, rehash, whatever it is gonna be utter garbage, chances are there will still be people who will attempt to negate all the valid criticism we're about to make by basically accusing us of being racist, sexist, misogynist, misanthrope.
Sony for one of them.
Apparently, yeah. So, yeah, the new Ghostbusters. The trailer, or rather, two trailers at this point, have been released, and both of them have been met with overwhelmingly negative backlash. Which I think is good, because based on what we've seen, the new movie is going to be nothing short of sacrilege, as far as the original Ghostbusters movie is concerned.
Oh yeah, because, you know, the original Ghostbusters movie had, what's the right word, comedy?
I was going to say soul?
One of the top comments on YouTube last time I saw it it said, how can a movie with so many ghosts have so little soul?
Yeah.
So true. So fucking true. I memean, just by looking at the trailer, did anyone actually honestly laugh at any of it? Oh, I got ectoplasm in all the cracks and it's hard to get out. Or the power of panic compels you. Is that what she says? Panic? All I heard is the power of compels you.
No, what she says is, and I will try to make this sound as authentic as possible, the power of pain compels you.
Pain.
Yeah.
Pain.
Which, I forget who said this. It could have been Chris Ray Gunn, but basically, that's the kind of level of humor you would expect to see in one of those disaster movie, Meet the Spartans, you know, one of those parody.
This is exactly what it feels like. It feels like a high budget Meet the Spartans kind of scary movie, horror movie, ghost movie, whatever the fuck kind of goofy ass movie like that.
I can, from what I've seen, there's not a single person who actually enjoyed the trailer. Mind you, there have been people who have attempted to defend it. The usual suspects like Salon and Mary Sue claiming that the only reason people dislike the trailers is because they just can't accept the fact that now the ladies have stepped up have risen up to the challenge and put on the proton packs, and now the ladies are kicking ass. It's like, who gives a shit about the gender? These characters are just not likable. They're not funny. They're not charismatic.
Yeah. Because if you go back to look at the stills and read some of the early ideas that Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi had for Ghostbusters, it's pretty rough. Mm-hmm. And I think that honestly, if you didn't have Bill Murray, his cynical, deadpan performance in the original Ghostbusters, it would have lost a lot of what made the movie so great.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't take the premise realistically if you didn't have the dissenter in the group, always kind of like poking fun at it, kind of being, you know, you watch him like when they're going their first ghost hunting mission in the hotel, and he's just kind of like schlubbing along like he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And you need that to kind of sell the premise. But I'm not saying that they necessarily need a Bill Murray in the female 2016 Ghostbusters movie. I'm saying they need humor.
Yeah.
Because it's just so fucking lame. The one scene where like the two girls are like, all right, let's go. Oh, you want to see that? Okay. Well, yeah, sorry, I'll let next time.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because that scene in particular kind of epitomizes everything that's wrong with this iteration of the team, because you go back to the original Ghostbusters, and when they've, you know, successfully captured Slimer in the first movie, they walk out like heroes, and you have that famous line by Bill Murray going, "We came, we saw, we kicked its ass."
Yep.
Like, that's the kind of attitude that those Ghostbusters had. And now you have these new Ghostbusters who are insecure, who are mumbling, and it's, I think, Kristen Wiig who goes like, "Let's do, oh, sorry, Melissa, you wanted to say it, okay, you know what, you can go next time, okay, let's just go in." And in the international trailer, you also see Kristen Wiig be all sorts of insecure. Like there's just a random scene where she tries to walk into a building and she tries to push she tries to push the door as opposed to pulling it. So again, the tone is they're insecure, they're quirky in the case of the blonde chick who puts on the wig and whatnot.
Yeah, because you know that great joke from Young Frankenstein works so good inside of Ghostbusters movie.
I mean, there's just no. I'm just gonna say there's no chemistry between these Ghostbusters.
Well, there's no chemistry and there's no character between any of the Ghostbusters. And again, it's not because they're women. It's specifically because they're women. You know, you wouldn't hear a woman saying, "We kicked its ass." That's testosterone, motherfucker. I'm joking. No, honestly, the original Ghostbusters, each Ghostbuster had their own shtick. Ray, who was played by Dan Aykroyd, was the enthusiastic man-child.
Yeah.
He was the oh my god, oh let's do this, oh yeah, you know, he was the go-getter, you know, go get her, Ray. Then Egon was the nerdy scientist who was kind of like the Spock of the group. I mean, you could even say he might be on like the high functioning autistic range because he's like I collect mold spores and fungus.
Yeah. But that's what made him the brain of the operation.
Yes. And he was also a butt of several Bill Murray's jokes. And Bill Murray, of course, was the smartass. He was the charismatic, smartass, devil may care. You kind of see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah. And even Ernie Hudson is important because he's.
Well, yeah. I'm just kind of getting to the point that, you know, like remember the Plinkett reviews, how they like describe like Han Solo, then like they try to explain like the characters of the Phantom Menace, and it's like, I don't know who this person is.
Exactly.
The exact same thing is happening right now with the female Ghostbusters because I can't tell who's what. I mean, I guess they're all quirky, but
no, actually, you can tell who is who because that's what they do in the trailer, as opposed to showing these characters interacting with one another, and thus the viewer kind of understanding their personalities, unique personalities, and the kind of chemistry they have by osmosis. Instead, they flat out tell you that, hey, female Egon, you're really smart. You're one of the best physicists ever. And hey...
But see, that's exactly my point, is they explain what their jobs are.
Yeah.
They don't explain what... Well, you don't need to explain what a character... What their attitude is, what their style is. But what they're saying is, oh, you're the mechanic. Oh, you're the physicist. And it's like, okay, so Bill Murray's character, Peter Venkman, was a scientist. Nowhere in the original 1984 trailer did they say, "Oh, Peter, you're a scientist." No. The character shines through.
Yeah.
Through what he says, what he does, the way he moves. Even Ernie Hudson is the everyman. You know, he's the catalyst for all this geeky shit to get explained to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a big Twinkie. You know, I mean, he's the everyman. He's the everyman that almost anybody who watches Ghostbusters kind of puts themselves inside of Winston Zedmore's shoes because he's kind of the outsider looking in.
Mm-hmm.
He's the catalyst for the viewer.
Plus, I mean, the Ghostbusters themselves, the original idea was always to have these guys who are basically kind of like blue-collar workers. I mean, obviously they're scientists, but kind of like firefighters, only they deal with ghosts and whatnot. And then you have Winston, who's got the completely right attitude when Janine asks him whether he believes in ghosts and UFOs and other dimensions.
Specters,
and his response is, and I quote here, "As long as there's a steady paycheck, I'll believe anything you want me to."
Yep.
So,
exactly.
Whereas with these new Ghostbusters, I mean, the black chick, for example, she's supposed to have a similar attitude, but instead they try to sell her being a part of the team as her being street smart. It's like, oh, all of you are really into this science shit, but I know New York. What does that even mean? So
it means that the other three girls are too white. Speaking of which, Tumblr. Just to explain that you can never appease everybody. There's quite a backlash on like social media about the new street smart character, and specifically her race and why she's not a scientist.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you know, the black woman can't be a scientist, and I just love the fact that They tried to, and Sony is still trying to play this like female sexist card, and then all of a sudden here comes a race card from like left field and knocks Sony right on its ass. I fucking love that. I actually kind of agree. I mean, why is her credentials only because I can get a car?
Because shit is script, that's why. I mean, personally, I don't really like when people try to pull the sexism card or the racism card, but the problem is the character herself is written in such a shallow way where, again, I'm not sure if it's a race thing, but there's no reason for her to be a part of the team. Because, I can get us a car. So? Okay, thank you, we'll pay you for the car, but we actually have credentials to deal with ghosts. Again, you could say that, Winston was not qualified to deal with the paranormal, but at the same time, they needed an extra help, and
yeah, exactly.
So that's why he's there, whereas the black chick just kind of tags along for no reason.
Well, according to the trailer, yeah. I mean, the movie's not out. Probably very few people, except for one guy on Reddit, who we're going to get to very shortly, has apparently seen the movie. But just from face value, and I really hate to make conjectures off face values, though, but they really are kind of pushing the fact that this woman is, again, just because of the trailer, I'm street smart, you should let me hang out with you guys. If it was a similar situation, say like the female Ghostbusters are, needing more help because they're growing too big for their boots, which apparently might not be the case according to this Reddit user named Stance1984. If it was like the original Ghostbusters were like, hey, we need help, and she kind of comes in and they're like, okay, why should we hire you? And she's like, oh, I'm street smart. I know all this shit. I know the town backwards and forwards. I know all this stuff that you guys kind of overlook because you guys are too busy in the science lab instead of out on the streets. Makes sense to bring her in because of that.
Sort of, but
it kind of rounds out the team a little bit in that aspect.
Again, she would basically be a female version of Winston, the outsider, basically. But at the same time, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the reason they provide I'm street smart. They're Ghostbusters. They're not private detectives. They're not Daredevil. They don't have to deal with the underworld. Right. The crime syndicates and whatnot. This isn't Taxi Driver. What the fuck is she talking about? This is Ghostbusters. Why would they need someone who... I know I'm obsessing over this point, but it just doesn't make any sense. Again, it goes back to the fact that the script is just garbage.
From what we've read on this Reddit thing, again, we have to stress the fact that the movie's not out. We have not seen the movie. We're basing some of our conclusions based on what we've seen in the trailer and what has been apparently backed up in a now deleted Reddit forum that we are referencing, which apparently so far has been pretty accurate according to both the U.S. trailer and the international trailer. But again, I'm just trying to say that we have not seen the movie and we can't really make too many conjectures. So I'm trying to pull you back, Max.
Okay, fair enough. But still, no, you're right. This entire conversation.
You can put your clan hood away.
Well,
joking. You and me, we're gonna get our asses chewed out regardless what we say. So
Well, that's the way we open this conversation. So again, we know this is gonna happen, and it has happened before. After all, I mean, every single time we talk about something in a negative manner, people.
What you're really saying is
either that, or they come out of the woodwork and they accuse us of being misanthropes, haters, or, and this one is the absolute worst, this one always brings me to tears, sometimes they call us negative Nancys, and when that happens, I just start to shake. I lose control of myself. Help me. I need a safe space.
To the college campus, Max, quick! Bernie Sanders just lost. There's going to be people crying left and right.
Oh, boy. Oh, and now we'll get people complaining about our political affiliations. Thank you.
I'm non-affiliate. I hate all of the candidates. I'm just waiting for a third party because this is the year the third party needs to happen. But anyways,
going back to this stance guy. You want to explain what he talked about in his Reddit post?
Well, this is interesting. I found this a couple weeks ago on Reddit, and it's been since deleted, but luckily there's such thing as called a Google Cache.
Screenshot in the description.
Yes, screenshot in the description. In fact, we might even include a write-up on the CCS site. But what happened was this guy named Stance, 1984, obvious reference to Dan Aykroyd's character, basically went into very long detail about the potential plot. Potential, again, nothing's really confirmed, but there's a lot of things in this that were almost too closely related to what we saw in both the US trailer and the international trailer. So basically, he details the entire plot outline and his own personal subjective opinions about how the movie's coming out.
Yeah.
But it's just so fucking telling that some of the jokes in here, and again, we go back to the fact that this movie doesn't seem to have any jokes. Apparently, McCarthy's character is obsessed with Chinese food, especially wontons. So that's why they got, instead of the firehouse from the original Ghostbusters, that's why they had moved into a Chinese restaurant, because then she can have all the wontons she wants.
Well, looking at her, apparently she has already been eating a lot of those.
Of course, because, you know, the fat one's going to want food, right? No, Tumblr's going to have a great day with this movie. Anyways, so it's just fucking nuts when you read this thing, the plot premise. And it goes all the way to the very end where the main bad guy kind of does the whole Gozer choose your form kind of thing. And the woman chooses the Ghostbusters logo. And so at the very end of the movie, spoiler alert possibly, they fight a giant version of the Ghostbusters logo with a little red bow tie.
Yeah.
In fact, haven't you seen something on Slashdot that kind of confirmed this?
Oh yeah, there's a link that I'm gonna leave in the description box. It's an article on that website where, again, they kinda leaked how the action figures for the movie are gonna look like, and one of the action figures, it best can be described as, like you said, it's the actual Ghostbusters logo, outside of its usual, you know, no sign, like no ghosts and whatnot. And apparently this is how the villain of the movie is gonna look, which is a really lame attempt to recreate the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man scene from the original Ghostbusters, because evidently the reason why that monster showed up there was because Gozer needed a form, a way to represent himself in our realm. Whereas this new guy, from what I've read on the Reddit post, this villain, he used to be human, he used to be aware of ghosts, but which is why he was bullied and victimized and called a weirdo his entire life. So his plan, again, according to this Reddit post, is to unleash the ghost world upon our world, and then somehow halfway through, the Ghostbusters catch up with him, they corner him somewhere, and like he almost commits like a suicide by, I was gonna say suicide by cop, but rather like a suicide by Ghostbuster, because he gets zapped with the proton gun, and then he himself turns into a ghost and tries to terrorize the Ghostbusters, and apparently he even tries to possess some of them, which is what we see in the trailer. When he possesses Melissa McCarthy, and that's when we get the also hilarious references to The Exorcist, which, again, that's like something you would see in a fucking scary movie. Not even the original one, but some of the later ones, the shitty ones.
The bad ones, the really bad ones.
Yeah, so... And apparently for some reason, in the end, the guy becomes so powerful that he does the same thing that Gozer does, where imagine a form, any form, and I'll become that. And for some reason, the black chick thinks of the Ghostbuster symbol that she saw previously somewhere on the
subway.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense, because the way I saw, so yeah, basically to wrap up my story, the guy becomes the low rent version of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And they defeat him the same way they defeated Gozer in the original movie, by crossing the streams. But here's the interesting thing. and we'll go back to the Reddit post in a second, but in the beginning of the trailer, the very first trailer, they say 30 years ago, 4 scientists saved New York, which is not entirely accurate because Winston was never a scientist, but whatever. So they reference the events of the first movie, right? And you also see the Ghostbusters symbol, as you said, spray painted somewhere on a wall, which almost makes you think of like the people of New York. They're fed up with ghosts and like they're yearning for the return of the original Ghostbusters or something like that. Like
that's what is set up inside of the American trailer. 30 years ago, 4 scientists saved the city, and it shows the Ghostbusters symbol spray painted on the wall. And yet this is a fucking remake.
Yeah, so it's reboot. So the events of the original movie never happened, and yet they try to market the movie almost as like a sequel. Like, it makes you think like maybe something had happened to the Ghostbusters where they ended up being trapped in an alternative dimension and there have been more ghosts than ever, and so the people of New York, like I said, they want to see someone deal with that problem, and that's when the new team rises to the challenge and they become Ghostbusters. But apparently no, this is a remake, so the original movie never happened. And worst of all, the original cast members, as you have alluded to this previously, they have been basically strong-armed into making cameos in the new movie.
There's certainly this. According to the Reddit article, and I was gonna make a couple jokes about some of the other quote jokes inside the video, including Chris Hemsworth like being possessed by the bad guy and making all the army, the army that's sent to stop him in his ghost army, dance to a Bee Gees song. You should be dancing. But the only thing more horrific than the actual plot outline, according to this Reddit article, is the fact that you remember the 2014 WikiLeaks Sony email hacks by North Korean hackers during the stint of The Interview, the movie that kind of lampoons Kim Jong-un?
Yeah.
Well, some of the evidence that was leaked to WikiLeaks shows that Sony was actually attempting to strong-arm people like Bill Murray into making cameos in this Ghostbusters movie, and threatening to sue if they did not comply. An exact quote is, quote, "In order to more fully evaluate our position if Bill Murray again declines to engage on, quote, Ghostbusters, end quote, AG requested that we identify, quote, aggressive, end quote, litigation counsel with whom we can consult to evaluate our alternatives and strategize." So basically they're saying if Bill Murray didn't sign aboard this thing, they're going to sue the shit out of him.
Yeah, basically, that's what all of that...
How fucking sick and terrified is Sony to not only be putting $150 million into the production of Ghostbusters, but now that it's getting such a negative backlash, that they are doing whatever they can to not only try to force the nostalgia sensation on people. Oh, this is a Ghostbusters. You guys are gonna like Ghostbusters. Remember Ghostbusters? They're actually doing some manipulation, according to some reports, on the comment sections on those very same trailers that are getting downvoted. Some of the reports I've read, and some of this is part conjecture, but then there's also some people out there who said that their critiques have been deleted by, obviously it had to be Sony because they're the ones who put the videos up there. But apparently legitimate critiques of the Ghostbusters trailers, including things like, it's not funny, the scene in the international trailer where the one gal jumps into the crowd to crowd surf and they all move out of the way and she hits the ground. I mean, that's kind of bare bones comedy right there. But then she's like, I don't know if it's my race or I don't know if it's because of sex, but I am pissed off. and it's like, really? I mean, I don't know.
Like I told you before we hit the record button, this movie, based on everything I've seen, seems to be Tumblr the movie.
And just like Tumblr, Sony is cutting out these constructive criticisms and leaving only the trolling, flame war starting, misogynistic comments like, oh, I hate all female Ghostbusters, get back in kitchen, quit chasing ghosts, whatever the fuck they're saying. This is what Sony's keeping up there, because apparently they're trying to do damage control. They're trying to do a deflection from them making a legitimately unfunny movie that's just there for like nostalgia hype and product placement. We'll get to that in a second here too. But they're trying to deflect that and say, oh, the movie failed because hashtag misogyny. Just like Fox tried doing with deflecting the fact that there's production issues, and even the director was going on social media and having a shit fit, and saying that the reason why Fantastic Four, the latest version, was doing so poorly is because, oh, it's because the Human Torch is black and hashtag racism.
Yeah.
That's why. Never mind it's a shit script. Never mind it's just a shitty movie in general that has no direction. It's because one character was race swapped. That's why.
Absolutely. That's exactly why people.
And now with Ghostbusters, now they're all gender swapped now, so you know that's the reason why nobody went to see Ghostbusters and why it tanked and why it failed, why it got this is all conjecture. I'm just projecting here. Why it could be getting like a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. It's because of sexism.
Yeah. You know what's funny? It seems to me that both of these companies, Sony and Fox, have taken a page from Anita's book as far as how to fabricate a controversy, because that's exactly what our old friend Miss Sarkeesian did with her Kickstarter video, where she not gonna say manipulated, but kind of closed the comments down on the rest of her videos aside from the trailer to make sure that everyone goes there and leaves all the negative comments and the sexist jokes. So all of a sudden a narrative has been created that, oh my god, you know, she's such a poor woman that faces so much obstruction and criticism and backlash and whatnot. And this, it seems as though Sony's doing something similar with Ghostbusters, where, as you said, the reason people are upset with this movie is not because, based on the trailer, it looks like garbage, but no, instead it's an all-female team.
Ensemble, yeah.
Yeah, and there are all these misogynistic MRAs and neckbeards and virgins and whatnot, and they just cannot stand the idea of girls playing with the same action figures as they do.
Yeah, how dare they? Egon's not a woman. I mean, it's also what George Lucas did with Red Tails. Remember that fiasco?
Oh, yeah. That's so I'm making a first all-black action movie. No, George, there have been movies with black actors before that. You're just
All black cast, too.
Yeah, I mean, Jackie Brown.
Well, no, Jackie Brown had a lot of white people in it.
True, but the makers... let's not even go down that route, but the point is, it seems as though every single time there is a movie that is of questionable quality, to say the very least, the filmmakers or the studios, the production studio, is going to try to do as much damage control as possible, and instead of owning up to the fact that mistakes were made, and usually whenever they admit to mistakes they use the passive voice, they never say who made the mistake, it's always mistakes were made, they instead try to point the fingers at the consumers and say, well, the reason no one went to watch Red Tails, or no one wanted to produce Red Tails, is because of racism, and in the case of Ghostbusters, the reason why people are disapproving of this new iteration of the team is because of hashtag misogyny.
Yep, it has nothing to do with the fact there's no jokes, or if there are jokes, they're scary movie level of jokes.
It's to quote Rich Evans, it's non-MIDI.
Yep, you get a negative value for the comedy. Yep.
I mean, we all saw the Stay Puft's Marshmallow Man's reaction to the Ghostbusters trailer.
But speaking of Fox and Sony, do you know that they have one thing in common?
Aside from greed?
Tom Rothman.
Oh yeah, so the answer is greed.
Yeah. Well, greed and stupidity, I guess. So there's a head honcho over at Fox for many years by the name of Tom Rothman. And he was recently let go by Fox and acquired by Sony. Now, Tom Rothman apparently was the brains behind some questionable directions that Fox took, including perhaps chasing away Bryan Singer from the X-Men franchise, and we all know what happened later, you know, I mean, and who doesn't like, you know, X-Men The Last Stand, you know, and Wolverine and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, fucking Barakapool.
Yeah,
It
well,
still haunts my nightmares.
yeah, well, get this. Tom Rothman is actually the one who kept Deadpool from ever being made. Tom Rothman hated the character of Deadpool. Some people think that it was Tom Rothman who was actually behind the idea to sew Deadpool's mouth shut because he thought the character was annoying. And hence we got Barakapool. But anyways, remember the Deadpool trailer? And I hate to talk about Deadpool during this, but you know, it makes sense. Remember at the end of the original leaked Deadpool trailer where he waves his hand and says, "Hi, Tom"?
Oh, yeah.
That was Tom Rothman.
Huh.
Alright, so Tom Rothman gets let off by Fox and acquired by Sony. Fox turns around, and while Tom Rothman is making the new hilarious Ghostbusters movie, Fox creates Deadpool for about a budget of $50 million, I think, something around there. Maybe 60 at the most. Anyways, Deadpool, not counting DVD sales, because obviously it's not out yet, but worldwide, it's made about $700 million.
Wow.
That's a pretty nice takeaway, don't you think? For an idea that Tom Rothman shot down. Now, if Sony is looking at Deadpool and Tom Rothman's history with Fox, they're probably shitting themselves right about now, going, "Oh my God, who the fuck did we hire?" Although I'm not going to blame everything on Tom Rothman, because obviously Paul Feig, his name?
Yes.
Feig, Feig. I don't want to mispronounce that. Apparently, you know, he hit some comedy gold with the Bridesmaid movie, which you see a lot of the recurring actresses from Bridesmaids coming to Ghostbusters.
Yep.
But some of the ideas, and going back to this Reddit thing that was deleted, but we'll have screenshots so you guys can read this terrible plot outline for yourselves and realize that it's not sexism that's hurting this movie, it's a shit script. It's an unfunny script. It's a script that, honestly, if this is true, and again, it's big if, although some of this stuff has been proven in the trailers, both international and US, again, this could end Paul Feig's career.
Potentially, yes.
Because, again, $150 million that Sony put into the budget for this film, and just now, recently, like March-ish, early March, they started promoting the movie through the trailer and whatnot. And you don't really hear a whole lot about this as far as marketing. I think Sony is going to be going into damage control, and the removal of negative critiques, you know, genuine critiques of the trailers, and leaving only the sexist ones is part of damage control. It's to create the air, kind of like Fox did with the Fantastic Four, you know, blah 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 blah, racism. Now they're doing now they're doing the sexism angle.
Yeah.
And also they're apparently not spending a whole lot of time trying to butter up and promote this movie. Have you seen any TV commercials for this yet? I mean, has there been anything like ads on IGN or anything like that to Usual Suspects?
Nope, haven't seen anything. Plus, according to one of the videos that we saw from Midnight's Edge, a YouTube channel.
Yes, go check them out.
We will leave the links to their 2 videos on the subject matter in the description box. But
to be fair, we did find the Reddit forum before we saw their videos, but just let you know.
Well, you know, great minds think alike and all that.
Yes.
But in their second video, they also bring up an important fact that there hasn't also been much support from the actual cast members.
Yes, I was going to get to that next. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I mean, the only person to actually endorse or promote the movie would be Melissa McCarthy, and even then, she just kind of retweeted a tweet from the director, Paul Feig, announcing the fact that the trailer has been released. But there have also been some rumors from the production floor of the movie that some of the cast members did not really like the script. They had
Melissa McCarthy was one of them. Apparently, Melissa McCarthy was a fan of the original Ghostbusters cartoon series, which, if you guys have never seen the original Ghostbusters cartoon, The Real Ghostbusters, it's legitimately good for the first couple seasons. Go check it out, seriously. She wanted to give the name Ghostbusters some genuine justice. And yet, apparently, like Max was referring to, Melissa McCarthy was almost always fighting with Paul Feig on the lot because of what she said was, quote, a lame duck script. And in fact, apparently she was so angry that she would actually like call her friends and stuff during like between takes and tell them how bad things are going, that Sony forced everybody in both the cast and production to sign extended NDAs. And no one's allowed to say anything except for glowing praise about this movie, which is why it's gone dark. Which is why all the cast, very few people in the cast will defend it.
Most likely, yes. And the more I think about it, this does seem to be a repetition of what happened with the Fantastic Four, where it was actually the director, Josh Trank, who had some unsavory things to say about the movie, but then Fox allegedly threatened him with some legal action, and all of a sudden he decided to go back on his words, and it's like, no, it's a wonderful movie. I had a wonderful time working on it, and you should all go to your local movie theater and support it.
It's like selling your children to white slavers. Oops, I mean, Disney's a wonderful place for me to sell Star Wars to. They're the new home of Star Wars, says George Lucas's publicist.
Oh boy.
I mean, this, I got to. I have to bring up something, just kind of wrap this up if we're done. Have you noticed how the corporate mentality in Hollywood is absolutely destroying everything? And only when you give someone a moderate budget and let them be true to the source material and be true to their own vision do you get a hit like Deadpool.
Or Guardians of the Galaxy, even though that one
Yes,
had a larger
exactly.
budget.
Well, but again, I mean, James Gunn is a talented director, and he got to make, he got the chance to make a fun movie the way he wanted to make it, and the audiences loved it. They gave him something genuinely fun. Same thing with Deadpool on a different level. Deadpool is generally a fun movie. And I think that's what audience is craving. They don't give a shit about rated R. They don't give a shit about necessarily nostalgia properties. They want something interesting and fun. And again, Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't know shit about it except for talking raccoon, talking tree. And it was a movie that blew me away because it was just joy, just pure joy watching Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep, it did not feel like
a spreadsheet.
Or a product, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, a product or a spreadsheet, exactly the same thing. Oh, we have to make sure we hit these markers. We got to have Bill Murray for the Ghostbusters, tick. We got to say Ghostbusters, tick. We got to have Slimer, tick. We got to have Proton Packs, tick.
We got to appease the 27%, 13 to 18 demographic and whatnot. Yeah.
We got to have a lot of gags about Twitter and Facebook and YouTube inside Ghostbusters because it's got to be hip and trendy with the kids, right? And again, you can read this in this Reddit post we're gonna regurgitate.
Yeah. To go back to what you said earlier about sexism and Sony using the sexism card to kind of deflect all the negative publicity that the
Not
trailer...
to mention all their own products. We'll end on that one. How about that?
Like, what do you mean?
Well, remember how like all the characters have like Sony Vio computers, and the one gal is recording with a Sony video camera, and then there's that picture of Times Square being transformed like back into the 70s, and Sony's products are on all the billboards, and there's a big Sony logo in the background.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I was
product placement with Sony.
Yeah, but before we get there, I was gonna say about the whole sexism angle. Yeah, but to go back very quickly to the whole sexism thing, like you mentioned earlier, how Sony is trying to use the sexism card to deflect all the negative criticism that the new trailer has, that the two new trailers have accrued. Here's the thing, I forget where I saw this, but this is nevertheless a legit point. Imagine if we got the exact same trailer, only starring, as opposed to Melissa McCarthy and Friends, imagine if it were Adam Sandler and Friends. The usual suspects.
Adam Sandler, David Spade. I'll give Chris Rock. I don't want to include him on the list, but he's always in those movies.
Well, you gotta include him in because basically...
Chris Rock has talent, though.
He has talent, but for some reason he keeps aligning himself with Adam Sandler. I mean, just think back to the Grown Ups movie.
Oh.
It was Adam Sandler, Kevin James, David Spade, and Chris Rock. And you know what? I can actually see those four trying to remake Ghostbusters and it being crap, and people would have been honest and said, yes, this is indeed crap. But instead, now I actually remember where I saw this. This was on Cinema Blend when the first trailer was released, and you saw the public reaction. I mean, we're talking 400,000 dislikes. And yet, you had the progressive media, the establishment, trying to sell this trailer as something actually witty, humorous, full of charm, and in response to the article in Cinema Blend, and the title of the article was something like, the new Ghostbusters trailer proves that these ladies are funny and awesome and kick all sorts of ass. And the response, one of the comments in response was basically, like, you dishonest fucks. If this were Adam Sandler and friends, you would have panned this trailer into the stratosphere. But instead, because it's a bunch of ladies, you gotta kiss the movie's ass. Which is true.
It's a shield.
That's what's happening.
Because I can honestly see it. If it was David Spade, Adam Sandler, and Kevin James?
Yeah, the fat one.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm sorry. I never watched Grown Ups 2 because I saw the trailer where, like, a deer is in the bedroom and it pees on Adam Sandler. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ.
Which is almost the exact same gag that happened
it's
Ghostbusters.
Exact same level of humor. Let's make a reference to The Exorcist. The power of pain compels you. Slap.
Ow, that's gonna leave a mark.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm the nerdy one. I gotta push the door when it says pull. Oh, I knew that. And then with Chris Hemsworth, apparently according to this Reddit thing, Chris Hemsworth is the only thing worth watching in this movie because his character is actually interesting. But also his character is objectified by Melissa McCarthy, I believe.
I think it's Kristen Wiig.
Is it Kristen Wiig? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so she...
Even in the international trailer, you see the engineer lady, the one with the weird SGW haircut. She takes off the goggles. It's like, oh my god, I want his cock inside of me right now.
Objectification. The objects are acted upon.
Listen, Laughing Man, we both know that only works one way, okay?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Tumblr. I'm sorry, Tumblr. I need to repent. I need to get my cat of nine tails out and beat myself, and while saying the power of pain compels me.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you and I. That's what both of us need to do. Just we won't be able to form a circle because there's just the two of us. But it's gonna be like. Have you ever seen the music video for Rosenrod?
Yeah, by Rammstein. Where they're beating each other. Yes. I was thinking the exact same thing.
That's what the two of us should do.
We'll take off our shirts and just get on our knees. And if any fan people out there actually want to draw us doing this, we'll post it up somewhere.
Yeah, and then one of us will be
Mel's the first one to draw it.
Hey, as long as it's free. And then
homoerotic slant.
Yeah, and then one of us will get seduced by a 14-year-old Romanian whore that's gonna force us to kill her parents for her. Great music video, great song. You should check it out. Yeah. But going back to Ghostbusters.
Female empowerment.
Yeah, the poor guy gets burnt in the stake. Kind of reminds me of the Memphis Girl situation.
Yeah.
But going back to Ghostbusters, and to potentially wrap this up. Yes. And also speaking of Adam Sandler, by the way, the fucking product placement. I mean, Jesus H. Christ on a pony.
Yes, exactly. I actually had to watch both trailers in HD to catch all of the little Sony products that are inside the video. First of all, there's Times Square, where the ghosts are out and about, and apparently 2016 is turning into 1976, something like that, because all of a sudden, Times Square, all the stuff melts down, and the sign for Blu-ray, Sony product, and that's a big Twinkie reference, nostalgia to the old Ghostbusters, melts away, and it shows
the poster for Taxi Driver.
Yeah, fucking Taxi Driver. I love that movie, and they're fucking with it. But then in the middle of the shot is the Sony logo, because Sony has that big TV stack display thing in the middle of Times Square, and because it's Sony. I mean, that's the same reason why I think Spider-Man probably fought Electro in the fucking second
in the middle
Spider-Man.
of Times Square. And
in the middle of Times Square,
Peter Parker also used a Sony Ericsson phone as well as his girlfriend, and the camera that he used to take pictures of Spider-Man was also a Sony camera. And get this, in his bedroom, he had not one, not two, but 3 Sony Vaio laptops.
I wouldn't even have one. But apparently Chris Hemsworth has one too, because when he's redesigning the Ghostbusters logo for the ladies in the UK international trailer, which is even worse than the US one, if you can believe it. He's working on a Sony Vaio. He spins the Sony laptop around, and there's like, you know, the picture, like it looks like a Ghostbusters logo, except it has big tits and like the red lips and stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, you see your boobs? I can make them bigger if you want." And if you pause it just right while watching the UK trailer, the moment where the one girl gets the ectoplasm spat all over her, in every crack, it was hard to get out.
The ectoplasm money shot.
Yes. The cum shot. Empowerment. There's never going to be a full female cast without a cum shot reference somewhere. That's post-feminism for you. Anyways, Melissa McCarthy's character is recording the entire thing on a Sony camcorder. You can see the Sony logo. Her finger is almost covering it up though, but you can still see the Sony logo. So it's, again,
I'm surprised they didn't go one step further and actually show you Melissa McCarthy then editing the footage that she took on her Sony camera.
Sony Vegas.
In Sony Vegas on her Sony Vaio laptop.
you know, we haven't seen the movie yet. This is all just what we've seen in the rumor mill on Reddit, which, again, some of these rumors have been true in the past, like the news that broke about Fantastic Four, and there's another one that was really, really popular because it hit 4chan and just went wildfire. But, you know, there's some credibility looking at some of this Reddit information, just because of how it coincides with the international and U.S. trailers. But again, it's just amazing how horrible the fucking script is. How you'll have to read it for yourself, because I can't even put in the words. A dance number with the Bee Gees in the middle of fucking Ghostbusters. Why?
Because comedy, because quirky. The villain is making them do all sorts of weird shit because he's been bullied and victimized. You know what? To kind of wrap this up, this whole situation with Ghostbusters and Fantastic Four, and even in parts Ant-Man, because don't forget that Edgar Wright, the guy who had gotten the entire project started at Marvel, he got the shaft because he didn't go with the company policy. He didn't make the movie resemble other Marvel properties enough. So
and he didn't have enough ties into Marvel, which is why Ant-Man had to fight the Falcon at the Avengers home base because, oh, by the way, there's a part that we need, but the Avengers have it, so we need you to go fight an Avenger because tie-in.
Because it's Marvel. We gotta have the Avengers.
The entire scene sticks out like a sore thumb.
But how else are kids gonna buy Falcon action figures unless you include him in the movie? But anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is you hear all this stuff going on behind the scenes, and it makes you really concerned about the current state of the movie industry and what's happening. I mean, mind you, shit like this has probably been going on for years, because I would, like, you hear about the stuff that was happening in like the 20s and the 30s and the 40s with the studio system, where the studio had total control over what the actors did, not only in their professional life but also their personal life. A good movie I would recommend would be the Hail Caesar by the Coen brothers, because they go into detail.
I've been dying to see that one. I
would recommend it. It's a great movie.
Coen brothers make good stuff.
They do, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's a twist that it's hilarious because of how ridiculous it is. But if you're familiar with what was going on at the time, you'll understand it. But anyways, I would imagine shit like this has been going on for years. And especially because right now I am listening to the audiobook version of The Godfather that Katie had shared with us on Facebook recently. Really great production. Obviously a really great book, and I'm surprised just how faithful the movie adaptation was to it. But anyways, the character of Johnny Fontaine, the godson of Don Corleone, the actor who he had to get the part, but the producer didn't want him to get the part because Johnny Fontaine had previously screwed a chick he was trying to bang. So I would imagine there was stuff like that going on in Hollywood for years, but somehow they were still able to make quality cinema. Not every single year and whatnot, but these days it's astonishing, and it's concerning just how corporatized it has become.
It almost has to be because of the budgets involved. I mean, like
true.
like Sony trying to mitigate the Ghostbusters potential flop, depending on what is to be believed.
But no one's forcing them to assign $150 million to Ghostbusters.
That part's true, but they're still trying to bank on nostalgia. They're still trying to find something that people recognize and say, oh yeah, we're just gonna reinvent that. Jurassic World, for better or worse. Remember Jurassic Park? Well, yeah, we got another one. Come see it, and it made a bunch of money. You know, the superhero thing is all nothing but product recognition. They would make a Ronald McDonald movie in a heartbeat if they could get the rights to do it or find a decent story to tell.
Well, they're making a movie about fucking emojis, so...
And Angry Birds, because that's popular. And they're going to make a movie about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, Christ. Of course they will. And meanwhile, all of this stuff gets greenlit and assigned a ridiculously humongous budget, like 150 million or 200 million and whatnot.
All the eggs in one basket. That's why they're doing it.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, and meanwhile, a great filmmaker, a great artist, a fucking legend like Martin Scorsese has to take pay cuts, him and the rest of the cast, to make his new movie, because the movie is gonna be about a Christian missionary going to feudal Japan. So the studio executives are immediately scratching their heads going, I don't know, Marty, how we're gonna market this? Can't you just make a superhero movie or something, Marty? Come on, help me here. Help me out here.
Marty, can you just include like some references to Facebook and stuff? I mean, I know it's anachronistic though, but can you like have like the samurais playing like Angry Birds? That way we can get the 7 to 14-year-old demographic. And then could we have a romance in there somewhere, Marty? Because you know we gotta get the females in there. And that's sexist in itself, but we think it's true because spreadsheets. And we need a lot of action, Marty, because otherwise people will fall asleep.
Jesus Christ. Ah, boy. But such is the state of the movie industry, and, well, unfortunately things aren't really all that better with video games, so... It's gonna be another one of those recordings, folks, where we end on a very pessimistic note, but, I think this is actually good because people are kind of...
It's an educated pessimism.
Well, it is, and I'm kind of glad that people are starting to realize that Hollywood is not this dream factory, if you will.
It's more like a sweatshop.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much. It is what it is, and hopefully more people will understand that no, they're not making this Ghostbusters movie because they have a good script or they're really passionate about the source material. No, they're making it so that, number one, nostalgia, and number two, they probably want to retain the rights to Ghostbusters, because how long has it been since Ghostbusters 2?
About 25 years. I think that they own the rights to Ghostbusters. I don't think anyone else does.
No, yeah, it's Columbia Pictures. Okay, so
Yeah.
they're not worried. It's not a situation like with Fox and
With Marvel and
Fantastic
stuff,
Four.
where, yeah, exactly, where they gotta make, every 7 years they gotta make a new Fantastic Four movie or something.
Okay, so this is even worse because there was no urgency to make a Ghostbusters
They
movie.
thought it would be a quick, nostalgic cash grab. That's why they did it.
And one thing we never really brought up, but this baffles me actually. We talked about how the original cast members have been strong-armed into making appearances in the new movie, but here's the thing. They're not even gonna appear as their respective characters. Like,
Nope.
Bill Murray is not gonna show up as Peter Venkman. instead, all of them, all the surviving members, I mean, because obviously Harold Ramis is no longer with us, but all the surviving members are going to show up as random cameos. Like, I think you told me that Dan Aykroyd is going to show up as, like, a...
Cab driver.
Yeah, I was going to say taxi driver, another connection with Martin Scorsese, but yeah. He's going to show up as a cab driver, and I guess...
Ernie Hudson is that one girl's uncle.
Yeah. Who sells her the Cadillac.
Yep, and then Sigourney Weaver has a cameo somewhere. I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it is. I can look it up, but let's... Oh, wait, here it is. Sigourney Weaver, a mentor of McKinnon, who is disappointed but approves of McKinnon's work at the end of the movie. Annie Potts, a.k.a. Janine, a new hotel lobby clerk answering the phone call, saying, "What do you want?" Throwback! Oh, I love these. Bill Murray. Oh, this is why we love Bill Murray. And this Bill Murray equals a skeptic. His lines aren't good, and he's kind of stiff. Why are you pretending to catch ghosts? That a girl. He gets killed when pushed out of a window by a rock concert dragon ghost. He convinced the girl Ghostbusters to be let out as proof in their tiny Chinese... What the fuck? To let it out as proof... Oh, he let out the... So, Bill Murray is the new EPA guy then, right?
I think so.
He's the dick. He's the dick who's like, "I want you to do this," and then he gets knocked out of a window.
No, not dick. Dickless.
No, I know. This man has no dick.
Yeah.
But I know this guy apparently gets knocked out of a window by a dragon ghost, and I don't know why the fuck dragon ghosts exist. Because ghosts don't exist either, but hot. And
oh, by the way, hashtag cultural
Santa Claus.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say. By the way, hashtag cultural appropriation. Dragons, China, come on.
Oh yeah, Jesus. And a Chinese restaurant. All these white people trying to take over China. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, proof of their Chinese Chinese restaurant. Yeah, okay, so this doesn't even make any sense when I read Bill Murray's part. And let's see, Dan Aykroyd, cab driver. Ernie Hudson, Uncle Jones's uncle who owns a hearse company. He finds out that they lost the Ghostbusters car. Jones wants another one. Ernie Hudson says, "I got 4 funerals this weekend. I can do it with one hearse." Jones says, "Can't you do 2 at a time?" Ernie Hudson replies, "I'm not stacking them up like flapjacks." And then good old Harold Ramis is rolling in his grave. Hashtag RIP Harold Ramis. Hashtag necrophilia. Hashtag Sony.
Yeah.
I added that last bit.
Well, no, it's good you did, because I'm surprised they didn't try to shoehorn Harold Ramis in somehow, like a CGI version.
Monster.
Yeah, like he's gonna be one of the ghosts. A particularly intelligent ghost. A particularly intelligent ghost.
He voices a new Slimer. They take a bunch of his old lines from like Stripes and stuff and make him voice ghosts.
Oh yeah, speaking of nostalgia, Slimer's in the new movie for some reason.
And a female Slimer too, because...
Wait, really?
Yes. It's probably going to be pink because feminism, right? Because pink is such a...
I swear, if there's going to be a subplot about Slimer finding the love of his life...
Well, they need a romance, Max.
And knowing the
Marty, we need a romance.
Oh, Christ. And knowing the political affiliation, not the political affiliation, but knowing the political ideology of the movie, they're probably gonna try to push a female supremacy angle with the Slimer and the She-Slimer relationship. So chances are there's gonna be a scene similar to the one in Deadpool, the International Women's Day scene. Only with Slimer.
Slimer gets paid. Slimer.
Yeah.
Happy International Women's Day. No. Not that. We're done.
Oh boy.
Nope. Not gonna happen.
Well, that's pretty much what. If we're talking metaphors.
What they're doing to Bill Murray and the rest.
Yep.